Your anxiety, your stresses, your fears are not something that needs to be avoided. These are emotions that need to be embraced. They are here to serve you. It is very important that you realize that your energy has been flowing into these emotions. When you identify with them, you are separating yourself from higher frequency aspects of you, your multidimensional aspects, your higher self, and your guides. If you fail to realize the importance that these emotions play in your life, you are going to set yourself up for a lifetime of suffering. The faster you can understand and work with these dense emotions, such as anxiety, stress, and fear, the faster you're going to get on your ascension path and be able to ground and integrate your higher self. These emotions play an important role in the process. What's happening when we're experiencing these is that we are really out of our body. We're being pulled out of our body. We're being pulled into our mental field. And this energy is just ripped off of us. We're not living authentically. We're not living as the whole. We're living as fragments or aspects. This is created by trauma that we've experienced when we were younger, right? If you've had some trauma, things like that you've experienced in your lifetime, it's going to manifest in thoughts of anxiety, thoughts of stress, fearful thoughts, and things like that. These are the things that really become debilitating if we allow them to consume our energy, meaning we identify with these thoughts. If we're feeling anxious, we say that we are anxious. We become anxious. If we're feeling fearful, we identify as being in fear. Now, the body wants to utilize this energy. It wants to bring it back home so that it can manifest a life that's in alignment with your purpose. But when we're tapped out or tied into these energies, what happens is we get off track. We go down these little lanes of nowhereville that lead to suffering because we're identified with these dense, heavy emotions. However, these emotions are here as signposts, big arrows to point you back on track. When we are dealing with anxiety, we're dealing with stress, we're dealing with fear. When we're not feeling it immensely or acutely, it's still there. It's below the surface. And it is continually siphoning off our energy. That's what happens when we're not really aware of it. Have you ever had this feeling like just things aren't right, things are unsettled? Maybe you feel like something bad's coming or something's bad is going to happen, or you can't anticipate how an event or how your life is going to go. That brings up these feelings of anxiety and stress and fear, and it could really be paralyzing. But when we identify and allow those emotions to persist, we start to suffer because our frequency drops. More of our energy gets placed out into that mental field and out of our body. So we're not present. We're always looking to either the past or the future to solve some sort of problem that our mind manifested. What if the problem didn't really exist? What if the problem was there, or you perceived a problem to be there because you just weren't centered and present in your body, because your energy or your focus was out in the mental field, dreaming up scenarios and situations that are really causing you to be anxious, right? So when we could take a step back from that, we could start to feel into the body. We could create some space and realize that this anxiety or this fearfulness or this stress is simply your body's way of calling your attention back in because energy has not been flowing as it should. When we our energy starts to slow down, we start to feel more dense, we start to feel heavier, we start to identify more as the physical human, which separates us from our divine guidance, from our intuition, and from our higher self. So we project out into the reality that we're perceiving, into the mental field. And if we're feeling anxious because we're not fully anchored and present in the body, we're going to experience anxiety in the triggers and the situations that are happening to us. That's how we perceive it, right? These are all signposts. So we don't need to really try to fix the anxiety. The anxiety, the stress, and the fears are there to point you back inside to say, hey, you are not whole at this moment. You're not operating at your full energetic capacity. Part of your energy is off, splintered off, or fractured off from the whole, and it's landing out here somewhere in the field, right? In the situation that's making you feel anxious. And that gives rise to an opportunity to bring that energy back in by creating space and breathing into the body, breathing into the lower chakras, anchoring deep into the root, anchoring into the sacral solar plexus, and freeing that energy up. When you learn how to do that using conscious breath work, and I have videos on my channel that can teach you how to do that, you will start to reclaim that energy that has been fractured or splintered off, that is making you feel anxious, making you feel stressed, making you feel fearful. So we need to reframe how we look at these emotions, because if we want to entertain these emotions and identify with them and say, boy, I am anxious right now, not I am experiencing anxiety or experiencing anxiousness or stress, I am stressed, then we are further disassociating from our higher self. We're pulling away and we're becoming more of the human in that moment. Our frequency is dropping, and we are identifying or resonating to these lower frequency emotions that are all stuck trauma energy in the body. It's caused by trauma. Okay, this energy gets stuck in the body when we have a trauma that we fail to feel. Okay, so when we identify with something, we're really not allowing it to move through us. We're kind of holding it there. We're saying, okay, I am this thing, and I'm going to become this thing. And that takes that energy and it just makes it stuck. It stops flowing within your body. But we can breathe into the body and say, I feel anxious, I feel stress, I feel or I'm experiencing fear. We are now detaching from being those things, okay? Meaning that we are aligning with a higher frequency energy. We're aligning with our higher self, our divine light. And we are allowing our energy to start to flow. And we're accepting these emotions because these emotions are part of you. Okay, the reason they keep coming up is because they've been fragmented off. This energy's been fragmented off, and we have turned away from it. We've said, no, I don't like that. And that slows down that energy flow. Okay, basically, we're not allowing ourselves to feel it, we're becoming it. Okay, if that makes sense. So what we want to do is we want to be able to create that space. We want to be able to allow the energy to flow through us and fully feel these emotions that are coming up, because these emotions are the key to grounding and integrating more of your divine light, more of your multidimensional energy. Your higher self is showing you where the stuck energy is by bringing these emotions forward. Now, we don't want to dive in there and become it, because then that cuts us off from our higher self. We identify as anxious, right? Now we're no longer divine, multidimensional beings. We're an anxious human, right? But if I could stay centered and present and say, I'm a multidimensional being and I'm experiencing this dense emotion that my mind is calling anxiety in the moment because of a story or expectations or some trauma, when we can allow ourselves to feel it from that perspective, we allow it to be okay. We accept that emotion, that trauma that's been unresolved is now able to be processed or alchemized by the body. And that's a function of energy moving up through the lower chakras into the heart space. We alchemize it. Okay, and that further connects you to your higher self, because that creates more space within your body for more of your higher self to land, because that space that was taken up by this dense emotional trauma of anxiety that's causing anxiety or causing stress has now been processed by you. You've allowed yourself to feel it. You didn't dive in and hold it there saying, I'm anxious right now, and recreate the trauma. You recognize the emotion, you brought awareness to it, and you made a choice to focus on your body and get your energy flowing with breath work. And that allowed that emotion to be okay. And once you're okay with that emotion, it merges right back in to the energy field, and you rise in frequency. So that's how we want to handle these emotions of anxiety, of stress, of being in fear. We don't want to become, we want to allow, we want to feel, we want to create that space. And we do that using breath work. So this is a very important key to realize in your ascension process that these emotions are not bad. We want to label emotions, good emotions, bad emotions. They simply are. We want to have a neutrality, a neutral perspective regarding these emotions. And we want to allow all of them because they are all trying to get back into the whole, to reintegrate into the mix. We've taken a piece of ourselves and tucked it away and said, I don't want to look at that. And that has lowered your vibration, slowed your vibration down. Frequency drops. You become more heavy, more dense, more human, less connected to your higher self. So we're experiencing these emotions so that we could reawaken to them and allow them to come back into play. Because we want to be able to operate as the human and allow ourselves to feel these emotions in our day-to-day routines, in our day-to-day tasks. They're going to come up. We want to feel them. We want to allow them, because when we feel them and we allow them, we're more present. Our field expands, our frequency's higher, and we're more in tune with our intuition and our guidance. Then we start to bring forward and manifest a life that's in alignment with our purpose. We're no longer being derailed when we get triggered and we choose to become that emotion and dive back in and sit in that stuckness. We free it up. We say, it's okay. I know it's there. It's part of you. It's all energy. We're going to allow it to be, and we're going to stay centered. We're going to stay present. We're going to stay aware, and we're going to stay on task. We're going to stay on track. If this video resonated with you, watch this next. Thank you.